Who is the attorney representing Sean Diddy Combs? Well, you might be surprised at his track record and some of the people that he's represented that are currently in prison. We're going to unpack that, and according to Diddy's attorney, Marc Agnifilo, he's stating that Diddy does not plan to take a plea deal. Who said one was offered? Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your #1 source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So if you saw my recent collaboration with Stephanie St. Aubin, I've been asking the question, who exactly is Diddy's attorney? I've questioned his credibility because it felt as if Mr. Agnifilo, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I apologize. It feels as if he was trying to play this legal situation out in the court of public opinion instead of in actual court. So as you know, Diddy's attorney is featured in the new Tubi documentary from TMZ, The Downfall of Diddy, The Indictment. I was in part 1 for 5 seconds. My Tubi debut. Well, before we get into who exactly this attorney is and his track record, I have to mention to you another clip from the Tubi documentary where, according to Diddy's attorney, he's not planning to take a plea.
Would you be open to a plea bargain?
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening.
Why?
Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent, and what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government. Mr. Combs feels A, he's innocent, which is why he's not going to plead guilty. B, he's going to be truthful about this case because he wants to portray that to the people who have loved him his whole life. And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government. He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what, maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
He said a lot. If you missed any of my Diddy videos, I've covered a lot in regards to some of the things that Diddy's attorney has said in this Tubi documentary. But TMZ writes this. They said Diddy will fight his legal case to the bitter end because his lawyer says a plea deal won't fly with his client. Diddy's attorney, Marc Agnifilo, appears in TMZ Studios' new documentary, The Downfall of Diddy, The Indictment, available to stream now on Tubi. Okay, shameless plug. And he says his client will fight this case not just for himself, but for others in a similar position. So his attorney says that Diddy is innocent. So he sees no reason to take a plea deal, even if prosecutors offer it. And according to his attorney, he isn't just fighting for himself. He's using his case to inspire others who believe they're facing government persecution, wanting to inspire them to fight back when the feds bring the hammer down. This is the same attorney that tried to justify the video that we saw from CNN in regards to Diddy dragging Cassie in a now closed Intercontinental Hotel. He also tried to spin that as if Cassie is the one who initiated that incident by taking his clothes and checking his phone. As he's saying that one of the resounding things that I keep hearing from Diddy in regards to that relationship is that he was heartbroken. TMZ says Diddy's family's on his mind as well, Marc says. He says Diddy wants to prove to his family he's the same man they've always known. According to TMZ, his attorney says that Diddy's being prosecuted by the feds because he's a successful black man. This sounds like a similar excuse that we saw recently from New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who was also indicted this week, but for different crimes. But who exactly is Diddy's attorney? So this was a question that I posed to Stephanie St. Aubin, an attorney who was here this past week, unpacking the Eric Adams story, unpacking the Diddy story, and of course, unpacking Naomi Campbell's recent scandal as well. So we looked it up. We looked up on his website some of his career goals.
This is very interesting. So this is Diddy's lawyer. This is who is on his own press tour currently. He generally has secured 3 complete acquittals, it says, in cases ranging from assault to international tax fraud to political corruption. And he has tried over 200 cases in his 30-year career. I would say 3 complete acquittals in 30 years. I don't know that if I was a defendant that I would like those odds.
Oh,
I don't know that I would like that. However, he did used to be a district attorney. So I'm sure that's one of his selling points of that. Since he was a district attorney, he understands how the prosecutor's office, is going to run a trial. I could see how that could definitely be a selling point. However, the majority of his cases, according to his own website, are involving securities, mail, wire insurance, bankruptcy fraud, money laundering, construction and labor, union matters, foreign corrupt practices, international arms dealing. So a little bit, I think there's probably some RICO in there, criminal antitrust, bribery, kickbacks, and criminal tax investigations. You don't see anything here specifically about trafficking. So that is very interesting. And he specifically has an active international criminal practice, represented clients working with local counsel on matters charged by governments of Italy, Switzerland, Romania, Bulgaria, and Kyrgyzstan, as well as investigations in several countries. So I think that maybe he has represented a few crime and or crime syndicate bosses, mafia, etc. That's what that would lead me to believe based on what he's saying. So maybe that is why Diddy hired him.
Yeah.
However, he doesn't have any, according to his website, any background dealing with celebrity clients. But all right. So apparently, citing the New York Post on your own website is very fascinating.
It says a lot.
That says a lot of what type of lawyer you're about to get, which is interesting. So Dina,
I think in the future though, this is going to make more sense in regards to how these two got connected.
I think so. And interestingly enough, Dina Manzo's ex-husband racketeering case is listed here after allegedly hiring mobster to beat up Real Housewives of New Jersey alum's husband.
We've covered that story.
So multiple of those. So maybe that is why Diddy sought to have this lawyer. These are very.
Who did he represent in that case? Because if he represented Tommy, Diddy, they won't let you out.
The fact that we're on New York Post now. We're on New York Post now, a place that I don't ever like to be. Attorney for a garden restaurateur asked federal judges to dismiss the case. Is looking to throw out. The case centers on 22 indictment. I'm just reading really quick.
It's okay. Take your time.
Menzo said he brought.
Because that would be really interesting to know. Who did he represent in that case that he's highlighting on here? Because if he represented Tommy Manzo, Tommy's locked up. Tommy's gonna probably pass away in jail.
Manzo's request is the latest. I think he did represent Manzo.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it would make the most sense because he's the one being accused. So.
Yes. Federal prosecutors say Manzo got angry with Dina. He allegedly hired Pina. Manzo. Prosecutors. Let's see.
Oh, the other article says Dina Manzo's ex gets racket. Okay, so I think he did because it's saying that.
He did represent Tommy Manzo. Yep.
So I guess these articles are highlighting the things that he did win. I don't look. His
isn't he in jail?
Yes, he's in jail.
Not you highlighting a case that you did. Oh no. Okay, so now we see where this is gonna go.
So one of the things that we saw there, because we cover Real Housewives, and I've been covering the Real Housewives of New Jersey star Dina Manzo's legal situation with her ex-husband Tommy Manzo, who's been accused allegedly. I don't know if I have to say allegedly anywhere. He's been convicted and he's facing 46 years in prison. Well, apparently, he's accused of hiring someone to attack her then boyfriend, who's now her husband, in a whole mafia-style situation. That's a whole thing that we can't get into. But that's not only who Marc has worked with in the past. Well, He's also worked with Raniere. You remember we talked about The Vow, about this cult. Well, now Raniere, as you know, is serving 120 years in prison. These odds aren't looking so good for Diddy. Not only that, he's also represented Martin Shkreli. For those that don't know who those folks are, because I haven't done videos on those individuals, I need you to understand who exactly Marc Agnifilo, who's representing Sean Diddy Combs, is, and the cases that he has worked on before. But also I want to give you a little bit of his history as well. So shout out to Bloomberg Law. They wrote this article breaking down some of who Diddy's attorney is. They said Sean Diddy Combs, by tapping Marc Agnifilo to defend him against the trafficking racketeering charges, has turned to a veteran former prosecutor familiar with complex criminal enterprises. Agnifilo's clients have included Martin Shkreli, the so-called farmer bro, and the cult leader Keith Raniere. He also represented Russian banks, a Turkish or Iranian gold trader, a Syrian Lebanese governor, and a slew of lawyers that have faced scrutiny over ties to their own clients. They said he's quite knowledgeable in law, but also a great diplomat. And as a former prosecutor, he definitely knows how the system works, said Eugene Gurovich, a past client of Agnifilo in a fraud case. He knows the levers to pull. Authorities, as you know, arrested Combs in New York in a New York hotel on September 16th, and in addition to trafficking, alleged that he engaged in forced labor, interstate transportation for ladies of the night, drug offenses, and kidnapping. The hip-hop mogul's lawyer on Wednesday asked that he await trial in home detention rather than jail. 6 months ago, Agnifilo hung his own shingle with litigators who, like himself, had worked with prominent New York criminal defense lawyer Benjamin Brafman. Agnifilo has been with Brafman's litigation boutique since 2006. He often had a hand or quietly shouldered the load on key matters for Brafman's firm, such as the defense of Shkreli, who served almost 7 years in prison for fraud. Shkreli said September 16th on social media platform X that Combs will be acquitted. He says, Marc Agnifilo has rescued a lot worse, he wrote. Shkreli didn't respond to a comment request. Agnifilo was the head of the Violent and Organized Crime Unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, where he spent a decade specializing in mafia and gang-related cases. His career began in 1990 at the New York County District Attorney's Office, where he met his wife, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, who introduced him to Brafman and works at her husband's law firm. So Agnifilo, while still at Brafman's law firm, last year represented Roger Nang, a former employee of Goldman Sachs Group, Inc., who received a 10-year prison sentence for his role in the Malaysia's 1MDB fraud. That term, however, has been repeatedly postponed as Roger assists law enforcement officials abroad. Another Agnifilo client, Peter Coker Sr., is facing securities fraud charges for running a single New Jersey deli once valued at more than $100 million. Gorovich is familiar with Agnifilo's ability to take on complicated cases with an added layer of international intrigue. He was a financial advisor to the former leader of Kyrgyzstan and spent about 5 years in prison after Agnifilo secured a plea deal for him in another fraud case. So he's worked with a lot of shady folks, y'all. So Gorovich said that he knew about statistics showing that the Justice Department overwhelmingly prevails in cases that go to trial, which we've talked about. The SDNY usually wins 98 to 99% of their cases. He said that Agnifilo was willing to fight his case in court, but was also honest about the long odds for exoneration. He will make the best possible recommendation for his client, whoever the client is, he says. Brafman confirmed in an email that he's no longer counsel to Combs, who he and Agnifilo most recently represented in a lawsuit filed last year by Cassandra Cassie Ventura. Just so you can get the connection on how Marc Agnifilo became associated with Diddy. So this is when he was working under this other law firm. So the former Bad Boy Records singer claimed that, as you know, she was SA'd by and trafficked by Combs for more than a decade. As you know, Combs ended up settling that lawsuit in November of 2023, but similar accusations, as you know, have since emerged in multiple lawsuits. We posted another video yesterday and this past week about 2 other civil lawsuits. A Houston-based law firm came out and said that they have 50 plus victims of Diddy, and claiming that some of these victims say that these abuses occurred when they were just minors. According to Bloomberg, they say that defending Diddy, who could face more than 15 years in prison, will be a tough task. Raniere, a former Agnifilo client who also faced trafficking and racketeering charges, received a 120-year sentence. So let's go there. Let's talk about Raniere. This is a story that we vaguely talked about just because of the documentary that came out, The Vow. There was actually 2 documentaries in regards to this cult that Keith Raniere was the leader of. So this is actually coming from the Justice Department in regards to the sentencing of Keith Raniere. So Keith Raniere, the founder and leader of NXIVM, was sentenced today to 120 years in prison. Raniere was convicted by a federal jury in June of 2019 of racketeering conspiracy. This is the same charge that Diddy's facing. Trafficking, another charge that Diddy is facing. Attempted trafficking conspiracy, forced labor conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy. The court also imposed a fine of $1,750,000. At the sentencing hearing, the court heard victim impact statements from 15 individuals, including Camilla, who's put in quotes, the victim who was sexually exploited by Raniere when she was just 15 years old. A hearing on the victim restitution will be held at a later date. So according to the government, they said the 120-year sentence imposed on Keith Raniere today is a measure of his appalling crimes committed over a decade. So if you think about what Diddy is being accused of, they're talking about over a decade. According to the Southern District of New York, they're accusing Diddy of crimes stemming back to 2008, more than a decade. But one of the differences yet that we found so far in regards to this Diddy case and Keith Raniere is Keith Raniere was accused of abuses to children. The only story that we've heard so far recently is this Houston-based law firm accusing Diddy of this. However, the government has not accused Diddy of this yet. However, what we did point out to you in a recent story is that the government has said their case on Diddy is not closed. They are still investigating this situation, so new charges can be brought against Sean Diddy Combs. But this video is more about who exactly is Sean Diddy Combs' attorney, Marc Agnifilo. So as I mentioned to you before, he's represented folks like Tommy Manzo in that situation with Real Housewives of New Jersey star Dina Manzo. We've mentioned now this Keith Raniere situation where he's facing 120 years in prison. But Marc has also represented Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli. So who exactly is Martin Shkreli? So Martin Shkreli has a lifetime ban from the pharmaceutical industry, and it was upheld earlier this year by federal appeals court in New York. So a 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. District of Appeals ruled that Shkreli was punished appropriately for antitrust violations. Shkreli increased the price of the antiparasitic drug Daraprim, an anti-malaria medication often prescribed for HIV patients, by 4,000%. From $17.50 per pill to $750 per pill in 2015. Shkreli, a former pharmaceutical CEO, was nicknamed Pharma Bro after hiking the cost of the life-saving drug and was convicted of securities fraud and had faced a sentence up to 20 years in prison. In 2018, Shkreli was convicted of securities fraud and other offenses and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. At the time of his sentencing, Shkreli apologized for his disgraceful judgment and dispensed with his prior criticisms of the court and conviction. The only person to blame for me being here is me, he said. There is no government conspiracy to take down Martin Shkreli. I took down Martin Shkreli with my disgraceful and shameful actions. So after serving about 5 years, Shkreli was released from prison early in May of 2022 after the Federal Trade Commission sued him in court, ordered the lifetime ban, and made him repay $64 million. Shkreli argued the lifetime ban was excessive and limited his public speech. The appellate court found the ban was a reasonable measure to protect the public from future price fixing. Given Shkreli's pattern of past misconduct, the obvious likelihood of its reoccurrence, and life-threatening nature of his results, we are persuaded that the district court's determination as to proper scope of the injunction was well within its discretion, according to the opinion. Shkreli's company, Vira Pharmaceuticals, settled allegations it suppressed competition for Daraprim in its most valuable drug and filed for bankruptcy last year. So that's just a little taste of who is representing Diddy and their winning streak so far. Not so great. Not so great. And look, I don't think we need to know about Diddy's attorney's past to know that Diddy's future did not look bright, especially with the Southern District of New York and what they've laid out so far. And with more and more victims coming forward. Allegedly, a male S worker has been in contact with the Southern District of New York and turned over one of the freak-off tapes. So we're going to continue to follow the story, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a background. So according to Diddy's attorney, he's not planning to take a plea deal. He's planning to fight this, very much like some of Marc's other clients that are currently in prison or have done prison time. Guys, as always, I want to know your reaction to this update in regards to who exactly is Diddy's attorney. And of course, thank you to Tiffany, who sent me some of this information, because you know what we always do here? We cite our sources. And we will be citing some of them in the description. Guys, as always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
You bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead, just watch the shoes.